Today's episode, we're working on my 1986 Honda 70 Fourtrax. This thing we've had for a long time, and it has not ran in years. Last time this thing did run, it ran awful. We had multiple carburetor issues with it. Put multiple carburetors on it. They were all the wrong kind. Just kept messing it up. The gas tank is insanely eroded, or the fuel tank, so it just sucks rust into everything, gums up the carburetor. So in today's episode, we are putting a fresh plastic gas tank in this thing so it cannot erode or get rusty. Brand new carburetor that's hopefully the right kind this time. And we're just going to go see if this thing will actually rip once again. See if we can get to idles. It's never actually idled or just ran good at all. So I think we're going to start with the gas tank, do the carburetor last because we might have a little bit more room without the carburetor on. So I think first we need to take off the handlebars, disconnect the brakes, plastic, seat, all that stuff that's on top of it, and we can get that old gas tank out. So because we need to take the handlebars off to get the front plastics off to get the gas tank out, first thing we're going to start with, there's 2 screws on the bottom of this. We get those out, this will come off. Those 2 screws, this will pop off, and then we'll just slide the brake lines out of the levers. Should be able to get the handlebars off from after that, and then we'll get the front plastics off and see if we can get that gas tank out. So I just got the ignition switch on and off, throttle cable off. Now I'm gonna get these levers or brakes off, and then we'll unmount the steering. Nice. Handlebars are out. Alright, so it's the next morning now. Got a little late last night. Last night we got the handlebars off, so now all we need to do is get the plastics off so we can get this new tank on. And I forgot about something. We have new gaskets too, because these gaskets, I don't even know if there's gaskets in it. And if there is, they're pretty much the worst gaskets I've ever seen in my life. I think to take the front plastics off, we have to take the rear plastics off. I don't know how to take the rear plastics off, so we're just gonna come back to you guys once we have the rear plastics off. Probably gonna be a while, but after that, get the front off and the new tank on. Alright, so I think we figured it out. We have not tried to take this off yet, but on each side there are 2 bolts that hold on your little fender. So we took those off on both sides. 2 bolts under the seat about right here. So those are. And this is kind of loose now. Yes! We've been working on this forever. Nice. It's kind of like a rip-off for some reason. So we're going to set this aside. Bailey's probably going to clean the bottom of it. Get this thing looking nice. While he's doing that, I am going to get these bolts off so we can get the front fender off. We'll throw the new tank on. Alright, I think we are ready to take off this front plastic. First 2 bolts, once you take off the rear plastic, these 2 right here, there's 2 under those bars, and then right in here, they connect to that little bracket. And then you have to take off your gas cap. I think we just have to kind of feed everything through. Yes, like that. So I think Bailey is going to clean this too. He's going to get the frame nice and clean. I'm going to work on getting the old gas tank off, and then we can finally get a new gas tank on. Alright, so we just got 2 plastics off, obviously. And I think, yeah, this is literally 1 bolt that holds this tank on. As you can see, we've tried to make some repairs. And can't really see it, but guys, there's holes everywhere. Listen to this. I don't know if you guys can hear that on camera, but I mean, look at all this stuff. Like, you just see that fall out. That was all straight rust, which is why we need a new tank. So over here, this will just go right there. We have a fresh tank and gasket, so they're out this thing. I really hope it comes with the little valves or whatever that your 2 fuel lines go into, because it looks like it just screw on. So I really hope it comes with those. It should though. This thing is looking very nice. I chose plastic because in the future it can't rust again. So kind of a big brain move. Yeah, I just gotta slide it forward a little bit. Oh wait, There it goes, literally. Nice, and that actually looks pretty good. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna let Bailey clean the frame a little bit, get the top of the motor, air filter box, and then we'll bolt down this tank and pretty much just reverse everything. So Bailey just gave this thing a quick little wash. Still doesn't look the best, but it looks way better than it did. He's still not done. He still has to wipe down the exhaust, all that, other plastics. This comes with a little plastic thing. Screws have little O-rings, so they really get clamped on there. I should actually probably double tighten those to make sure. And then you pop in your little rubber thing for this, but this doesn't look like. Oh no, that's pretty tall, so it should. I'm gonna quickly double check these. Really make sure that these are tight, because if you don't put these tight enough, it will most likely leak. I think this thing is ready to be put on. You can see these little U-shapes in here, and you have these little rubber things. You want to pop it into those, so you're gonna wash it, slide it in like that. Yeah, just like that. We'll put screw finger tight in, and we'll get this thing tightened down. There. Now this thing's on there. So we just got everything cleaned up. Everything's looking nice. See, it looks brand new. Everything's cleaned up, pretty much the best we can get it. I zip tied these together so it's easier to just kind of slide through. There is one thing that I've been trying to not think about. I watched a whole bunch of videos last night about this exact four-wheeler, not this exact one, but same year and all that. And all of them said that pretty much no matter what tank you buy, this part right here is going to be too big for this. It doesn't really look like it is, but I'm really hoping it's not, because if it is, we're going to have to do a lot of trimming to Tremel or something. I don't even know if we got one though, so we're just going to really hope. Guide this through here. Oh wait, that's the wrong spot. Just guide it through there. That's why I'm going to zip it all off. What's happening right now? Yep. So we have to go find the Tremel or something to shave that up a little bit, because pretty much every tank you can order is going to be like that. At least that's everything I read about. So I guess me and my brother will just find something, trim it up, get the front plastic on, and we'll let you guys know when we're going to throw in the rear. So we used a little power tool, kind of trace where we want this to be cut out, and then once we got a good amount cut off, we're just going to hit it with this thing, just a Leatherman with like a file on it. Alright, let's go see how this thing fits. Alright, let's see how this thing fits. Just add it through there. There you go. And now we need to come down here. It goes like that. I mean, guys, it was meant to be. So I think that's the most perfect fitment I've ever had trimming something. So we're gonna get these main bolts down, and then we'll throw the cap on this thing. Well, actually, no. We're gonna do the carburetor now. Bailey's gonna continue cleaning up a little bit, air up the tires, and then I'm gonna get the intake gaskets, carburetor gaskets, and carburetor on. Then we'll throw all the plastics on, then the fuel lines, throw some gas in this thing. I do think it'll take a while to start. Normally how this four-wheeler is, it takes forever to start for the first time, but then once you start it once, it pretty much starts every time. But it's been sitting for quite a bit now, so get this back off and then we'll throw the carburetor on. Alright, so this is the fresh carburetor. Got a little breather tube down here. I already slid the intake thing on that pops into that hole right there. This gasket right here goes on just like that. And we have another one for the intake. Yeah, this is the intake. So we're gonna get the intake off. So I'll go find the size for that. And then we'll throw that gasket on, carburetor gasket, throttle cable, and then pretty much just assemble the main basics. And I think we're ready to go take this thing for a spin. So I just got the little intake off, and this thing is rough. It's already torn right there pretty bad. You can actually see the exhaust valve. If you look in there, yeah, we're gonna have to get a light, but there's a little exhaust valve. Never actually seen one work. So that's actually pretty cool. But we're just gonna rip this one off, get all the old gasket off, and then we can throw the new one on. So I just scraped up the old gasket as much as I could. Looks pretty flat and nice. So now it's time for the new gasket. So first, we're just gonna drop down one of our bolts. Oh, it slid right out. And then drop down this one. Now, I'm gonna line it up. Tighten these down a tiny bit. Make sure the gasket seems it's in a normal spot. And we're gonna get our wrench, tighten this thing down. Don't ask me why there's two different bolt sizes. If it works, it works. So, pretty sure this is actually how it's always been for some reason. But it has ran. It's these two random bolts in it before. Now I'm going to loosen it again so that gasket looks like it's a little bit too much that way. So we'll come back once we have this gasket fully down, evened up, and nice. Just got the new gasket on there. We put two of the same bolts on both sides because the other one wouldn't like grab for some reason. It'd get tighten it more and it'd just slip. So got the new bolt on there. That thing is, it's on there. So now we can move on to our carbonator, and it's not actually called a carbonator, just so you guys know, it's called a carburetor. And then, which way does this bolt go in? Oh, it goes, okay, so what we're gonna do first, we're gonna get our throttle installed. So a little lip in there, and there's a cut part on this thing. So you're gonna line those up, make sure that it slides all the way down. See how it's just completely sealed? Normally if they get like a little crooked, it won't seal all the way. So once you get that fully sealed, you're gonna screw this on as tight as you can get it, like that. And now, whenever I give it throttle, the throttle. Then we're going to grab our gasket. There's also an O-ring on this, pretty cool. And now, grab our bolt. Make sure it goes through the O-ring. Yep. Or, sorry, the gasket. That one on there. And then we're going to go line up the other side. Click. Make sure gasket is nice and straight. Nice, now we can tighten it up, and we'll pop that in, and then we're ready for gas tank, fuel lines, plastics, hook everything back up to the bars. Got the carburetor fully mounted down, tube put into a little slot, and this is like messed up or broken. It will not go in anymore, so we're going to use some gasket maker, and the hole is still lined up with the hole of this. It's just not popping in, so we're just going to make our own little gasket around it. And then it should be a perfect seal. And then we'll check the spark plug while everything's out of the way. Probably clean this up a little bit more, and then we'll throw the gas tank on, fuel lines while everything's out of the way, and then plastics. So we just use some gasket maker, and it does not look the best. not about looks, but performance. And it looks like it'll work, or work better than it would have disconnected. So now we're gonna throw the gas tank back on. Let's find some fuel line, hook that up, then plastics, and all that. Hand me that ratchet, please. Get a size 10. There we go. Now, I think we're gonna go find some fuel line. Throw that on. So we just got a nice fuel line on. It's not the cleanest, but we made sure to clean it out with some brake cleaner. Don't even need to zip tie it down or clamp it, that stuff is on there. So now, I think we need to get the front plastics on. It's gonna be very exciting finally putting this thing back together. Got it through here. Okay, thank you. Nice. Now I just have to find the bolts for this thing and it'll go right on. Everything's fitting great. Gas cap looks really nice on it. It's very nerve-wracking cutting up this plastic because everything is stock, obviously except for gas tank, carburetor now, but pretty nerve-wracking. So I messed up once, rebuy the plastics. We're just gonna kind of get these things finger tight and then really tighten them down and they're both tightened so that the body can move if it needs to. Yep. So we just finished the four-wheeler, got everything back on, throttle, ignition, handlebars, everything. One small problem though. So we've been having a lot of issues with our fuel line. All of them kind of running short here because a lot of tanks are rusty around here, so we have to constantly be swapping fuel line. And we're pretty much out of the fuel line that's the right size for this. So we've been trying to jam smaller fuel line in all the stuff, or little ports or whatever, which in theory wouldn't leak. But for some reason, every fuel line we put on it leaks out of the part that you slide it onto. And then when I took one of the fuel lines off, the little part that comes out snapped. So I just patched that with the gasket maker because it should technically create a seal. I kind of just shoved it up in there. And it's just going to be direct reserve, which I'm glad that the one that's on snapped instead of reserve, because how it works is when the two things that you shove the fuel line into on the bottom of the tank, they go up into the tank. And the on is about this tall. The reserve is about this tall. So when you put gas in, you first have it on, but then when it gets past that point, you can't get fuel. So then you put it on reserve, and the little stud gets the rest of the gas. So I'm glad it broke on reserve because, yeah, we won't have a warning if we're running low on gas, because normally you have it on, it dies, throw it on reserve, and you go fill it up. But it will last longer, technically. So I'm kind of glad that the on one snapped, but it's still a bummer that it snapped. Tried 3D printing one. No one's made one yet, of course, and I don't know how to design anything. So we're just gonna hope that gasket maker works, but we need to check the spark plug since I do not know when it was last checked. Yeah. Doesn't look the best condition at all. As you guys can see, the top's very eroded and dusty for some reason, and the bottom is extremely rusty and dirty. We haven't even checked the oil on this thing like ever, so probably do that. Okay. It's not bad. our little thing that comes over is bent up a little bit too much. Don't know what that's from. No idea what that could be from, but we'll push that down, clean it up, and then we'll go put it on the spark tester. We'll throw it back in here if it's getting good spark, and if not, we'll just throw a new one in it. So we have this cheap little spark tester here, and I'll just tell you how much spark he has. So plug it in the wall, slide that in there, close this, so we'll get it at a better angle. Now when you turn this, the more you turn it, the more volts it gives it. It actually looks really promising. I already bent that little tab down. We're still gonna clean it up because why not? And then we'll bring it back over here, see if there's a difference. But I'm gonna show you guys how I'll clean up the spark plug. So first, I'm gonna grab a very thin sheet of sandpaper. My bad. So not too rough, just kind of strong, kind of not. First, rub the bottom part so you get that. Then do the same to the top. And if you want to make it look nice, you can just kind of clean up the tops and sides. But I'd save these because one of these sheets will last probably 50 spark plugs. And then, see how there's a whole bunch of dust on it? We're going to go over to a trash can, just pss, 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 and then it'll be all clean, ready to go back in. So now that I just sprayed it off, it's looking nice and clean. We're going to quickly check for spark because I feel like it might not be getting enough spark. It might be getting enough to just barely run, but I don't think it's getting a lot. What are you doing? So how we check for spark is obviously use a spark tester, but you don't know if your electrical on the machine's working. So I'm gonna have my brother filming right now. He's gonna hold this, and I'm gonna put the ignition on and turn it over. And if you see a little blue spark, we're getting spark. So Amelia, I'm gonna have you hold that, and then I'll turn it over. Alright, so ignition on. Just let me know if there's blue spark, Amelia.
Yep, there is.
There is? Let me check. Alright, nice. Seems pretty promising, so we're going to throw that thing back in. Come on now. These threads are like destroyed on this thing. It's pretty scary taking the spark plug out because half the time you don't know if it's going to go back in this thing. Anything even happening? I really hope our threads doesn't just go out. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Boom. So we let the four-wheeler sit overnight. We tried it once we let it sit last night, and that did not work. We used this gray gasket maker, and the gas pretty much just dissolved it and turned it into a goop. So we found this oil-resistant stuff that theoretically should work for gas. So what we did is I took off that little black bracket that you slide the two fuel lines onto, put all the gasket maker on that, squished it on there, and then put super glue in the snapped little spoke or whatever, and then let it sit overnight again. So now, hopefully, it should be good. And I'm just gonna check this dry. Yeah, so it's definitely dry. So let's see the gas if it leaks. You wanna come over here, Bailey? See if it leaks. Alright, here we go. Any leakage? Nice.
I don't see any.
Finally did it. So we're just gonna top this thing off. Some gasoline here. So, obviously these four-wheelers come pull start, not kick start. So there's a little pull start right here, which is actually right here that I took off. Just a few 3 bolts, this little pull mechanism, and I actually took it off because the way this four-wheeler is the only way to start it is you gotta just pull. You can't take a break, and then it might want to start. And I am not pulling that thing because I cannot handle that. So we're just gonna hook a impact up to it and just let it rip. But you need to see which way you need to spin the impact, spin the engine. So if you spin it the wrong way, your exhaust valve will open before your intake valve, and you're just trying to start it backwards, so it's not going to work no matter what. So the way to check this is, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this. You're going to throw it on first, and you're going to push it. See how that's moved forward? So we're going to spin it left, which is forward, and then that's the firing pattern. Do not push it backward, because backward is the opposite of the motor. So your engine might be different. If you want to spin yours over with the impact, I'd check just like that. Because yours, when you push it forward, might want to spin backward. Just always check that way, or else you'll just be starting your engine backwards pretty much. So I think we're going to go grab some brake cleaner, turn the fuel on this thing, and hope that it's going to fire up. So I'm just going to use brake cleaner. It's kind of like a starting fluid. I would use starting fluid, but that's more for diesels, and it honestly does not work with these. So I'm going to spray it in from this side, because for some reason the carburetor is more to the left of the little air box than the right, or it's in the middle, so jam it in there. Come on now. Give it throttle. Give it some juice. You'll see that none of that is leaking out now. Since I opened it up, it just went directly in pretty much. We're going to turn the ignition on. I'm actually going to keep this out here. And then Bradley has the impact. He's going to spin her over. Hopefully something happens. Nice and easy. Little faster. Getting fuel. Doesn't sound like it, at least. I don't know if it's getting fuel. Didn't even sound like it wanted to fire. And yeah, that is on. So I'm gonna get like a little bucket, unplug the fuel line, and see if we are getting fuel. So we have our homemade fluid pan here. Throw that in there. Now we're going to unplug this. Now, the reason I don't think it's getting gas is I had to do this on the other side. To widen up this fuel line, because we ran out, we had to use a heated up screwdriver, kind of jam it in there. But what that did is it created a seal in the inside. So it just creates a big pocket of air and then no fuel can get in. So I trimmed that side because I noticed that. But now that I look at it, this side looks like that too. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but that little like line in there, that's the fuel line pushed in, or part of it, so it's kind of just blocking it, and it does feel like there's something in that line. So we're going to cut it really quick, try to throw it back on and see if it has fuel flow. Alright, gas is most likely going to go everywhere, but whatever. Oh no, we are getting flow. That didn't look right though. I don't know why I was spitting out like that. So be safe. We are gonna cut it. There. So now we have an actual steady flow. Nope. Yeah, that's fine. You want to make sure it soaks in your skin. So now we actually have flow. As you guys noticed, when I first unplugged it, it was kind of just like spitting out and like shooting out the side. So it wasn't getting direct flow. Now it is, as you guys saw. So now we're going to wipe down the engine really quick so it won't dissolve our paint. And then we're going to try to fire this thing up again. So like I remember this engine being like, it is not liking anything. Even with the drill or impact hooked up to it, it doesn't even sound like it wants to try to start. It's getting fuel flow. We've checked that multiple times. We tried it on and off. Reserve. Obviously, no, we didn't try off, obviously. On, reserve. It doesn't sound like it's getting spark, but we just checked spark. It just sounds like it's turning over. Nothing's even warm. I mean, it's not even really trying. So we're gonna check the spark plug here. Give it another spark test, see what signs it's showing, see if it's even getting fuel. Because who knows, maybe something's wrong with our carburetor. Gotta do something else. Pull this thing out. I mean, it doesn't even look like anything was trying to happen. I mean, it looks the exact same since last time we cleaned it. Smells a little bit like gas, but that's just a spark plug. I mean, it's getting soaked in gas. So I don't know. I guess we'll give her a spark test. Bailey, you want to hold that again? I'll hook up the gear. Maybe it's some kind of safety somehow. The pull rope on it. It just doesn't like to get sparked without it. You ready, Bailey?
Yep. It has spark.
It does?
Yep.
Wow. Well, I am not sure. It's getting everything, fuel, spark, air. Should go kaboom, but just got back from school, tried to start this thing again, worked on it all last night, everything I could, like regrounded the stuff, figured out the neutral safety switch, everything. This thing isn't even firing once. And I mean, with the impact up to it, it's kind of concerning that it hasn't even tried. And I went into my dad's shop, and I was gonna ask him if he had not the old, like not the first original carburetor, but the other new one I ordered, because that one was on this, and it kind of ran with that on it. It at least fired up for a second. So I was gonna try to throw that tune on here, but then I found the actual original 42-year-old carburetor just sitting on a battery. And I've actually been looking for this carburetor for years, and I have no idea how it just popped up. So I guess we're rebuilding a carburetor today. We're gonna check every filter, clean the bowl, clean the inside, all that, and see if we can put the original carburetor on this thing, and maybe it'll then fire up. Another thing I noticed, I know that the carburetors I'm ordering are wrong, because as you guys can see, if this is the little airbox boot, this is for the intakes this way, you're gonna put it on like this, right? And it says choke on the plastics over here, and choke's over here. So this is the correct carburetor. On all these new carburetors, I've never been able to find one that does not have the choke on this side. So I'm wondering if they just don't make them anymore, if they just make a newer model or style. But clearly this four-wheeler is not liking that kind of carburetor, or just not liking something going on in there. So, I mean, like, this fuel line is supposed to be bendy. I mean, yeah, it's gonna take a lot of work to clean up, but let's get to work. First thing we're gonna do, check this little filter where the fuel comes in. This is the part that I find the most dirty on pretty much any carburetor. And this carburetor was ran with that insanely rusty fuel tank. That's actually why we took this carburetor off, because too far gone. Back then, I didn't know how to clean a carburetor. Surprised that actually came loose. Do you think it's gonna be dry, Bradley?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
First, crusty.
We got. Don't know what that is. Don't want to know what that is.
Baby
Actually,
filter.
it's not bad. That's doable. That's actually it. I don't even know if we have to clean that. We still will, but that's very doable. And then, I mean, the inside looks like the inside, so that's good. I mean, it could definitely use a clean, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. So I'm gonna spray this up really quick, and then we'll head on to the bowl. All right, just got this put back on. Filter was actually way better than I thought it was gonna be. Now we're gonna take off this bowl. And I already tried to get this squeaky, riggedy thing off, and it don't want to come off, so we're not gonna take it off. This might not come off, but we can sure give it a try. Oh yeah, easy. By the sounds of it,
Some fluidization.
no, that's the float, I believe, which is good news. Float's not stuck, but don't know what that is. I believe it's just the float flopping around in there. Here we go. Oh,
Dang,
okay.
That's clean.
Some corrosion at the bottom of the bowl, to be expected. Gasket still intact. The reason that's probably the most corroded or eroded is because it just sits there, so it's always just sitting there. And then we'll give that a rinse, but it's looking good. Our float, it's floating, so it's a float. I believe these are our jets. Never done this. They look fairly clean. Bottom of, or I guess would this be the top of the carburetor, not that bad at all. We don't need an O-ring. Rob it off of this carburetor and then spray this up, throw it back on. Just sprayed down the carburetor, some rat clean, getting the bowl back on here. Be sure that you're putting it on the right way because it looks like it'll go on both ways. But it won't. Well, it will, but it won't work. Maybe. We're gonna just get these tight and then we're gonna really tighten them so we don't have any leakage. I'm surprised that the gasket or ring was still good. Now we're going to take off that carburetor really quick, just off camera. You guys know how to take off a carburetor probably. And then rob all the gaskets off of that I just put on, and then throw it on this, and then throw this on that. Just got the carburetor on. It's actually a bit of a process because obviously I'm not used to this carburetor. We had to get all this different bolt size to do all the other stuff, to get the other stuff to fit on to here. Everything is hooked up now. It does look like it's slowly leaking out of this. It might just be because I just dumped 85 pounds of gas out. Yeah, it might have been from that, hopefully. But now, I think it's time to try to start it. We're gonna throw some brake cleaner down in it and see if it'll fire up. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We need to take off this to see, because since we're only running one line, because this one's snapped, we need to see which one it's coming out of. So, if what I'm trying to say is if I'm on reserve, it might be trying to pull gas from this line. Or if I'm on, it might be trying to pull gas from this line. So we need to take it off. And if it's on reserve and there's gas coming out the back, then we have it on the right mode. Alright, it's about to come off. Oh, O-ring. Alright, quite a bit of corrosion. And we're on reserve right now and nothing's coming out, but now watch. If I put it on, see that? So on, oh gosh. On is what we need to be on. Oh my gosh, it's running down my arms. So we're gonna clean this up really quick because I forgot to check this when we cleaned it. And then we're gonna throw this on, see if it'll fire up. Pop the O-ring back on. There we go. Next screw. I think we've changed carburetors on this thing, trying to get this one like 5 times, and it's just never ran with them. So hopefully this will actually work. I mean, it should. Now when we first go to turn this over, it's not just gonna fire up and idle because it's gotta fill the bowl full of gas. It's gotta get gas going through all the stuff because that carburetor is bone dry. Alright, so now we're gonna turn it to on, which is the one that it flowed on. That might be an issue, is it needs another line.
You could block it off.
Yeah.
We put some gasket sealer on none of it just for now.
No, because it's the original. So I don't know how we're gonna film this. We just got the carburetor put on, checked the thing, topped off on gas and everything. Just sprayed some brake cleaner in it. Bradley's gonna try to film well impact it. He's gonna floor it and then come out. And then I'm gonna be sweet spot throttle, which I don't know what that is yet, but we're gonna see if this thing will fire up. It has not ran in years. It's never ran good at all. And I personally don't know if it's gonna start. I think it's gonna give us quite a bit of trouble like it always does. But I think it'll come around. So, Bradley, you want to get the impact ready? Ignition on run. Just got the throttle on. See if it'll fire up. Ready, Bradley? What are your observations? I'm going to say no, honestly. I don't think it's going to go.
I think
it is a Honda, so there's a chance, but no on this four-wheeler.
I think it'll try and start, but That's gonna break your foot.
Yeah, I'll go the case.
Nice.
It's running, guys. Wow, that is amazing.
And it's idling.
Well, we just got done riding. This thing's insanely hot. It's running like absolute dog poop. Don't know what happened to it. Ran awesome up in the barn. We broke down way down at the end of the hayfield. Tuned her up a little bit really quick, and it still ain't running happy. It acts like it wants fuel because it only runs good to choke on, and you give it more fuel, and it has too much fuel. But I'm giving it the least fuel I can. We need to really tune it up. There are a few issues. This is leaking, soaking my jeans. I think we need to cut it a little bit more and slide it down more so we can really tighten that cap up. And then we need some new rear tires. And we just need to get this thing running nice, looking nice. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever ridden because I forgot how bumpy it was without suspension. And I mean, half the time it just chooses where you go. But I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe. We're about 2,000 subscribers away from 100,000. So please subscribe so we can hit that goal. Let me know what you guys want to see me do to this four-wheeler. We're definitely going to be putting new tires on it, tuning it up, just all the basics. But let me know if you want us to do anything else with it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Get some.